How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to show you 2 ways to make a speed garage bass. Here's a quick preview of the first bass. Great, so the 2 different styles are made in completely different ways. The first bass is made by using a bass one-shot in a sampler, and the second is synthesized from scratch using Serum. Let's start with bass 1. Great, so I'm going to take all the effects off and show you what it sounds like. This is it with no effects, and with effects. In my new UK Speed Garage pack, there's 28 bass one-shots, so let's use one of those. Let's select bass shot 25, sounds like this. So what we can do is then go to the filter, so if we go to controls, and we can take out some of the high end. So you can just play around by ear. You're definitely going to want to have a very high resonance, not too high, probably peak out about 60, 65. And what you can do is, if you go back to the sample, you can change where it starts, so you'll get a different sound depending on where the sample starts. Sometimes you'll be getting a bit of a clip, so what you want to do is bring up the attack. Great, then let's try it with another sample. Drag that one in. So as you can hear, there's a very large attack, so let's bring that up. In fact, let's change this from a simpler to a sampler. We can then drag this back, and we can select just a small part of it. We then need to crossfade it. Right, once you've got that, then we can go and we can change the filter. And again, let's change the position. And let's go to the filter again. Let's maybe change the filter to this one. We can then add some effects to make it sound even better. Firstly, we've got this overdrive. So this is just distorting it and making it a bit more aggressive. We've then got this mono, which is a utility, which is making anything below 500 Hz mono. After that, we've got this stereo wider. As you can see, this is making the stereo of the bass, so anything above 500 Hz, a lot wider. We then have this Pro R, which is a reverb. You can use any reverb. Got a decent bit of a decay and a slight bit of mix, but yeah, pretty basic. And we're also taking out some of the high end with this EQ that's built into it. After that, we've got another mono, so this is just making sure that all of the reverb and all of the stereo fill that we're adding is then again put into mono, as we don't want any stereo coming into our bass. And lastly, we have this kickstart. As always, I'm always using a kickstart, side chain it to the kick so that it creates room for the kick to punch through the mix. The next way to make a speed garage bass is by using a synth. So I've actually used a preset from my UK Garage Volume 2 pack. The preset is called Boomtown. This is what it sounds like. This is what it sounds like without any effects. Let's have a quick look at what makes up the patch. So we've got 2 FM waves. So if you go into digital and search FM Freak, this will come up. What we then have is the same on oscillator B. Both are being pitched down by 2 octaves. The fine tune is also the same. So we've got a plus 25 and a minus 25. We then put that in mono down here. So So let's start that from scratch. So let's drag both of the wavetable positions all the way to 0, macro all the way down. Drag that on here, let's put it to, let's say 45. You then want it to be the exact same on this side, so 45. And then as you drag this up, let's hear it. And then you can just fine tune that to how you want it to sound. If we have a look at the effects, we've got this hyper, which is making things wider. We've also got this distortion, which is making things a bit louder. And lastly, we've got this reverb. I didn't feel the reverb was enough, and I've also added some separate reverb, so that's actually deleted on this audio effects rack. So if we have a look at this, we've got the Pro R again, and all we're doing is we're doing a bit of parallel sidechain, but it's really a bit pointless in this scenario, so we could just delete that. So what we've got is a bit of parallel reverb. I've created an audio effects rack. I've then created a chain. Great, so next I have this reverb. All it is the Fab Filter Pro R, and I think it's pretty much the same setting as before. And the difference with this though, and you can try it either way, depending on how you want it to sound, but I've used an audio effects rack and used a dry. So this is 100% dry and this is 100% wet. This basically means that the dry signal is then being mixed in separately with the wet signal on top. Whereas when you use a normal reverb, you're mixing in the whole signal and it's getting washed out slightly. And with bass, I generally think it's probably best to not wash it out. Otherwise you're going to wash out some of the harshness from it. Whereas if you do it this way, you're sort of layering the reverb on top of that dry signal. I'm going to probably cover this in more detail in another video. Great, so how you do this, you get a reverb, so you use any reverb. We then create a group. We then click on this, and we create another chain, so create chain, and then we call this one dry. Put it at the top, you put it at the bottom, it doesn't matter. And then you want to put the reverb all the way to 100%. And let's hear it. So that's just dry signal. Now you're mixing in the reverb on top. That entire dry signal is still there. Great, we've then got this Pro Q3, so this is just an EQ3 and I'm using it to boost any of the frequencies above 650 Hertz. It's probably a bit much, let's lower it. Great, I've then got this utility which is making the bass mono. I've got this Fab Filter Saturn 2. You can use any saturation plugin. I've just used this one because I think it sounds good and it looks cool. Yeah, sometimes you just buy expensive plugins because they look cool and then they make you want to produce more. So it's sort of like spending money on your craft. Even though you could use it any plugin, sometimes you just want to pay for something that looks pretty. I hope that makes sense. We then got this Kickstart, which is just sidechaining it as always. As these two are quite wide basses, the bass I feel like is lacking a little bit. So I've made a sub separately. So this is a sub I made in using my last video. So it's just a sine wave and a square wave and then this filter taking out anything above 109 Hertz. So it's just really deep and subby. What I've then done is taken out the bottom of the basses. So if you want to take out anything below 100, like this. Generally with EQ8 I'll double it because they're a little bit weak. So and then we're just using the bass from that sub, and then we can control the level of the sub a lot easier. So without it, and same goes for the other bass. We can do the exact same thing. Great guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I tried to make the video a little bit more different today. If you want to download this project, you can get that from my Patreon. The link for that's obviously below. If you want to watch any other videos, then click them now. See you next time. Bye.